Okay, so we're about to dive into the story of a composer who wrote music so wild, it literally started a riot. I mean, seriously, just think about that for a second. Can a bunch of notes, played by an orchestra, actually make people jump out of their seats and start throwing punches? Well, the answer is a big fat yes. Because back in 1913, in Paris, a piece of music by this guy, Igor Stravinsky, caused a full-blown, no-joke riot. So how in the world does music even do that? Let's jump straight into the craziest moment first, the premiere of Stravinsky's totally game-changing ballet. Okay, so picture this. You're in a super fancy theater in 1913. You're all dressed up, expecting a beautiful, graceful ballet with pretty calming melodies. But then the curtain goes up and what you hear is something else entirely. The music was just loud. It was aggressive, with this heavy, pounding beat that just would not quit. It broke every single rule they were used to. The sounds were clashing and really harsh. And the dancing? It wasn't elegant at all. It was jerky and kind of strange. For the audience, this felt like a full-on attack on their ears. People started yelling, then arguing, and soon enough, things got completely out of control. It was total chaos. And all of it, every bit of it, was because one composer decided to smash all the rules. So who was this guy? Right, so to really get how Stravinsky became music's biggest rule breaker, we gotta go back and see how he first became an expert at, well, following the rules.
Stravinsky was literally born into the music world. He grew up in Russia, and because his dad was a famous opera singer, his house was just constantly filled with music. He was breathing this stuff from day one.
Then he got really serious and studied with a total master. Think of it like this. It's like a pro gamer learning what every single button, every combo, and every special move does before they try to invent their own new strategies. He had to master the entire system first. And his progress was just insanely fast. I mean, look at this. In 1910, his first big ballet, The Firebird, makes him famous overnight. Just 1 year later, with Petrushka, he's already experimenting with weird new sounds. And then, only 2 years after that, boom, The Riot. That's a 3-year sprint for being the new hot thing to being a total disruptor. So what were his secret weapons? What were the musical hacks that Stravinsky used to completely change the game? Let's get into it. Okay, so his first big hack was something called polytonality. And all that really means is that different parts of the orchestra are playing in two completely different musical keys at the exact same time. Think about it this way. Old school music usually stuck to one key to give you one clear mood, like happy or sad. But Stravinsky's trick created instant chaos and excitement. It's basically the musical version of scrolling on TikTok when your phone glitches and you suddenly hear two different viral sounds playing over each other. It's messy, it's intense, and you definitely can't ignore it.
But his biggest innovation, the thing that really just blew everyone's minds, was what he did with rhythm. See, for Stravinsky, the beat wasn't just some background pulse. No way. He made it the star of the show.
He made the rhythm completely unpredictable. You just never knew when the next big thump was going to hit. He'd throw in these loud, punchy accents in all the wrong places on purpose. And then he'd have different instruments all playing different rhythms at the same time. It's kind of like a video game soundtrack that's glitching out to build up the tension during a huge boss fight. That was Stravinsky. So, after you cause a riot and change music forever, what do you do next? Well, if you're Stravinsky, I guess you get bored and decide to completely remix yourself. Across his entire career, he had 3 totally different styles. It's like he beat the game on the hardest difficulty and then decided to start over and master it in completely different ways. And the change is huge. His early Russian style was all about massive orchestras, loud, wild, thumping sounds. But later, in what's called his neoclassic phase, he did the exact opposite. He used small groups, wrote clean, balanced music, and used super precise rhythms, all inspired by old composers like Mozart. And he didn't even stop there. Even when he was an old man, he decided to learn serialism, this super complicated, almost mathematical way of writing music that he actually used to dislike. He was just a lifelong learner who never, ever stopped experimenting. Okay, so a composer from over 100 years ago, why should you actually care? Well, because the musical world you live in today was basically built by this guy.
Probably the best way to think about it is this. Stravinsky permanently updated music's operating system. He rewrote the fundamental code of how music could sound and feel. And you can hear his legacy everywhere. You know that intense, driving music in a huge action movie? Total Stravinsky vibe. Those weird, off-kilter beats you hear in some pop and rock songs? Yep, you can trace that back to him too. He's the one who really proved that rhythm could be the most exciting part of a song. And more importantly, that in art, breaking the rules is how you create something new.
So, if we boil it all down to one big idea, it's this. By having the guts to write music that was loud, chaotic, and totally new, Igor Stravinsky pretty much created the soundtrack for our fast-paced, modern world.
And that kind of leaves us with one last question to think about. Stravinsky was the great disruptor of his time. So, who do you think is doing that now? Who's breaking all the rules today and creating the sound of your world?